I must admit this is a bit of a change of environment, but let's just say this sofa bed is in use at the moment in time. But that's not important. What is important is the fact that I went to see Avengers Infinity War Part 1. And I'm going to say this right now. It's going to be difficult to talk about this film without spoiling a damn thing. And I mean without spoiling a damn thing, because let's just say shit hits the fan pretty immediately, like within the first second. Shit has hit the fan. And so, if you don't like spoilers, then I recommend not watching this video, because I'm going to spoil the shit out of this film, because I'm just awful at keeping my mouth shut. I have this tendency to try and not spoil something, but then eventually, accidentally, some form or another, whether it's my fault or someone else's fault, just like the other day, for example, it was someone else's fault, I have this tendency just to, how do I phrase it, spoil things by accident. So, I'm just going to say it right now, there will be spoilers, because I will say character names, and I will say certain scenes, etc, etc. So if you don't like spoilers, don't watch. However, I will quickly summarise what I think of the film. I think it's fantastic, probably the best MCU film they've ever done, the best Avengers film, certainly. Not the best Marvel film as a whole, because I still personally find Spider-Man 2 and Logan, which aren't actually part of the MCU, to be the best ones there has ever been. But nonetheless, I still think it was a great film, and well, a fantastic film for that. So, how do I go about talking about this film without just spoiling without spoiling anything? I've already said I'm going to spoil stuff, so I might as well go ahead. So the film starts off where 4-3 ended, essentially. You know, you see the big ship at the end, in the post-credit scene, I should say, of 4-3 or 4 Ragnarok, and you know, Asgard is on this like little evacuation, going off to a new world. However, it starts off with them basically being all dead. So the events of 4-3 was pointless because they're all dead, except for Loki, the Gatekeeper, and Thor, and Hulk, obviously. Of course, Thanos has invaded the ship, and he is looking for the Tesseract, which holds one of the Infinity Stones for his gauntlet. And he knows that Loki had stolen it before they left Asgard, and so he quickly gets it off of Loki, and then the Gatekeeper, in an act of defiance, basically rescues Hulk, because Hulk, of course, tries to fight Thanos. Thanos beats the other shit out of Hulk. Hulk is defeated, quite easily actually, and so the Gatekeeper saves Hulk, but is then killed himself. And then immediately after the Gatekeeper is killed, Loki gets killed. So any Loki fans are not going to like the first, let's say, 5 minutes of the film, because this is 2 big characters gone already. Now, there is something I will talk about the death toll in this, because the death toll in this film is pretty massive. In fact, I think that's probably the largest death toll in any of the MCU films. Unless you count Guardians of the Galaxy 1, whereby, you know, you see the flashback of Ronan destroying an entire planet, which I guess would be a larger death toll, but this is more universal. Yeah. So yeah, that's essentially the start of the film. Thor is trapped, and of course he eventually escapes, and as he escapes, well, I'm getting it wrong again. No, the ship gets blown up, that's right. The ship gets blown to smithereens, Thor is floating in space, and of course he gets picked up by the Guardians. Meanwhile, Hulk has been teleported back to Earth. He lands in Doctor Strange's house, who then calls up Tony Stark. Tony Stark listens to what Hulk has to say, or Bruce Banner, because you don't see Hulk for the rest of the film, by the way. The first 5 minutes is the only time you see Hulk. The rest of the film is Bruce Banner. So you get their story. The other storyline going ahead is Vision and Scarlet Witch. Vision and Scarlet Witch are happily living together. You know, they're thinking about the wonderful life they could live, etc., etc. And, of course, all things go sour because Thanos' children invade the Earth, and 2 of them are sent out to track down Vision, who has one of the Infinity Stones. And, of course, Vision gets stabbed, and let's just say throughout the entire film, Vision is dying. Vision pretty much has the longest death out of any of the characters in the movie, because he is essentially killed at the beginning, but they keep him alive only just, and of course they have to come up with a plan to try and get the Infinity Stone out of him and destroy it. Of course, Doctor Strange has the other Infinity Stone, which controls time. He has to try and keep it safe. And of course, Thanos' children, you know, use these giant donuts. That is the best way of describing it. Giant donuts to invade Earth to get attention, and they're literally just tracking down the Infinity Stones. They don't go after any people, etc. Of course, Spider-Man notices one of the giant donuts. He goes in to help. He's even given a new suit as he climbs on top of one of the giant donuts. He stows away as well because Tony didn't want him there. And so Spider-Man joins Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange on their little expedition. Meanwhile, the Guardians get split up because Thor goes with, Rocket Raccoon and Groot goes with Thor, while the rest stay on the ship. Of course, they go off to try and kill Thanos. Thanos, of course, beats them at their own game, and you know, kidnaps Gamora essentially. So I shouldn't really be explaining the entire story, should I? But those are essentially the storylines. That all the characters are pretty much split up into like these different groups. Captain America, by the way, him, Black Widow, Falcon, and War Machine, they all help out with Vision and all that. Meanwhile, you've got Black Panther and Bucky, who are almost just dragged along for the ride because, of course, they get in contact with Captain America, and that is where they are told about the whole plan to get rid of the Infinity Stone from Vision's head, because Scarlet Witch doesn't want Vision to die, and of course Captain America, quite foolishly, because I will get onto that point in a minute. Captain America quite foolishly says that even though we shouldn't, you know, sacrifice billions of lives for one life, he doesn't want to lose a single person. And of course, the irony in that is there's a giant battle sequence at the end in which loads of people are killed just so they can get rid of this one stone. But that isn't the only thing. Let's just say this film is filled to the brim with stupid mistakes. Well, I say stupid mistakes. Stupid mistakes made by the characters. And it's one bad idea, one bad mistake after the other. One of the first, I'm getting news reports, it seems. Alright. News reports. It's one mistake after the other. Of course, you got Spider-Man stowing away when he shouldn't have. You have Captain America keeping Vision alive, and just so they can just because he didn't want to lose a single person in the battle against Thanos. You got Doctor Strange, who gives Thanos the Time Stone because Tony gets stabbed by Thanos. You got Gamora going with Thanos and ignoring Star-Lord's commands. Star-Lord not bothering to kill Gamora when Gamora asked him to. You got, you know, Star-Lord getting pissed off because, let's just say, Thanos reveals to him that Gamora is dead, and of course he loved Gamora, and he tries to fight Thanos. When they're this close to ripping off the gauntlet off his hand, and it is literally one bad mistake after the other, and honestly, I don't mind that. You know, I know a lot of people really get annoyed by the fact that a lot of movies decide to, you know, or in particular horror movies or thriller movies, where the main characters do stupid things, stupid decisions, and it gets them, you know, and it eventually gets them killed. It's the same here. A lot of the characters do stupid things, stupid decisions, which does, in the end, screw them over big time, and I mean big time, because, like I said, the death toll of main characters in this film is pretty big. Although I would say at least 3 of them are genuine deaths, and the rest debatable, I think is the best way to describe it. Yeah. So, as I may have just spoiled just there, Gamora gets killed, and in my opinion, Gamora's death, out of all the deaths in the entire film, is perhaps the most shocking. Essentially, her sister, Nebula, is being tortured by Thanos, and Thanos wants to know where the soul... I forgot what it's called. Soul Gem. That's incorrect, but hey. The Soul Stone. That's right, the Soul Stone is. Yep, the camera's still on. The Soul Stone is, and of course Gamora breaks and tells him the planet to go to. They go to the planet, and another shocking thing which I didn't see coming was Red Skull appearing. Basically, Red Skull's trapped in this limbo where, you know, he has to guard the Soul Stone, and he tells Thanos that in order to acquire the Soul Stone, one must make a sacrifice to it, must give a soul to them, and it must be someone. It can't be anyone. It has to be someone who is close to them, someone that they love. Gamora mocks Thanos and says that you don't love anyone, no one loves you, and basically he grabs her and chucks her off the cliff, and you just see, you hear a thud, you see her body lying there with blood pouring out of her head, and as Thanos cries, and he eventually achieves the Soul Stone in probably the worst CGI shot in the entire film, by the way, because the film does have good CGI, but there is this one shot after he gets the Soul Stone which just looks like a plastic cartoon. It really looked awful. He's basically in the water and he's rising, and it looked like a video game from like the early 2000s. It was that bad, that CGI scene. But that's a nitpick, really. What else happens? So, of course, Gamora gets the axe, and what I really like about this film is it gave her a bit more character, because Gamora, I always liked Gamora from the Guardians of the Galaxy series. I always thought she was the cool badass with this mysterious past. I always found her a delight. You know, I dare even say she was probably my favourite of the Guardians. Although that is hard to say, because I absolutely love all the Guardians. You know, they're probably my favourite of the MCU films as a whole. But Gamora, out of main Guardians, was probably my favourite, because she had a lot more mystery to her. She had this past, and she's of course technically an ex-villain. She has killed innocent people. You know, she wasn't perfectly innocent. And in this one you get a little bit more backstory to her. Same with Thanos, actually. And you discover that Thanos invaded her home planet, similar to what happened in Avengers 1, where you see all those giant flying driller things with mouths going through and destroying buildings. You see those aliens with the guns, those like Egyptian looking aliens. Once again, I'm awful when it comes to names. And you find out that Gamora is hiding with her mother, and then she runs off as her mother disappears in the crowd. As the crowd is split in two, they're being forced to choose one side or the other. Choose that side or choose this side. Of course, they go their separate ways, and Gamora, of course, walks into Thanos, and Thanos introduces himself to her and says where's her parents and all that. He then shows her a little knife, and he holds it on his finger and talks about balance. And as you know, of course, anyone who chose the left side, or in perception of our point of view, the audience point of view. Whoever was on the left side is then shot, while the other half are left alive in this massive genocide. Basically, Gamora is told, don't look at that, don't look at that, look at this knife that I've got you. See, everything is in balance. That's an awful Thanos impression. But he keeps the knife and he talks about balance and how everything needs to be on balance. It can't go one way, it can't go the other. And, you know, that gives you a little bit more for Gamora. And it also, something that I really love about this film is it has the best villain out of any MCU film. And, yeah, last film that I saw was Black Panther. And I already said that I liked Andy Serkis's Claw character for being the over-the-top goofy villain, but I absolutely fucking hated Killmonger, and I don't understand why people like him. Then again, it's up to their opinion, it's not mine. I hated Killmonger, I thought he was an awful, awful villain. Thank God for Thanos! Thanos actually concerned me at first, because I thought he was just going to be this big asshole, this big, you know, dude who's just going to be evil and that's it. But in the, like, shots when you have him with Gamora, he, for the most part, just talks about, you know, he talks quite in depth. He talks about, you know, life in general and how everything needs to be at a balance. You know, he doesn't perceive himself as a villain. He perceives himself as this one who's going to create perfection. He sees himself as a god, you know, and you see that his home planet, Titan, used to be this thriving land, and only he knew how to solve the problems. However, it eventually got destroyed. It eventually died out as a planet, and everyone just died. Everyone was extinct. So Thanos, you know, he's quite philosophical, you know, in the way he talks. And not only that, he had emotion, you know, he could get upset, he could get angry, he can be happy, he can be calm, and that's something that I noticed a lot in the battle sequences. He was never like yelling at the top of his lungs, you know, roaring and all that. He was quite calm. And to be fair, he was like a superpowered, overpowered, you know, motherfucker. But yeah, he was pretty calm throughout the entire film, and not only that, he's just a great character to see on screen. He perfectly portrayed, by the way, and the CGI for him is brilliant, you know. It really was a great character. It was really refreshing to see another great villain for Marvel, because if anyone knows the Marvel Universe, I'm trying to see if the camera's working, I heard a click. Sometimes that means the cameras go off. Where was I? That's right. Sometimes the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it has a problem with rather boring or bad villains. And, you know, as I said with Black Panther, I know a lot of people liked Killmonger, but Killmonger was fucking awful. He really was. He was just this pure evil hate, and he had no redeemable qualities whatsoever. You know, which is why I always get confused when people say, "Oh, he was so redeemable." You know, he had some good nature to him. He is understandable. He's fucking not. He's genocidal. He's evil. He's pure fucking psychotic. You know. But Thanos, ironically, I was concerned about, but then was thrilled to see on screen because he was just brilliant. He actually, you know, he surpassed my expectations, and I can understand why people was calling him the best MCU villain. And it was worth the wait, by the way, because we've wanted this guy since Avengers 1, and we only got like snippets here and there. The most we got was Guardians of the Galaxy 1. And then to see him here kicking ass is brilliant. It is brilliant. This film is basically, by the way, action-packed from beginning to end. Like, as I said earlier, the very beginning is on the Asgard ship, or what's left of it. Everyone's dead except for the main characters, obviously, and of course even then, only 2 of them make it out alive. So, yeah, that was it's action from that point onwards, and you know, you might get a few snippets where it's just a bit of dialogue, a bit of calm down, and then it's back to the action again. That is fantastic. And of course, it's a two-parter, and it does leave on a great, great ending, which is, as I said earlier, I am gonna spoil it. So, actually, you know what? I'm not gonna spoil the ending. The ending is just too great. But I will spoil this. I'll spoil who gets killed in the end, which might inadvertently spoil what. Yeah. Well, basically, the bad guy wins. Thanos wins in this situation. Although I say win lightly because he did kind of. He does suffer a mortal blow, although he does win. And that is. A lot of the heroes, a lot of people are killed. Thanos gets his own way. He gets all the Infinity Stones, and he disintegrates loads of people, including loads of heroes. And it was shocking to see who got the axe, because Captain America, who everyone thought was definitely going to be killed off, survives. That's something that I noticed about Captain America. Actually, he hardly appeared in this movie. Like, you see him halfway through, and after they save Vision, you know, and then you don't see him for a large chunk, and then you see him briefly again, and then you don't see him for a large chunk, and you see him briefly again. You don't actually see Captain America all that much. It's the battle sequence, you do see him a lot, but even then he didn't really appear all that much. I'm going on a tangent, but Captain America definitely survives. But considering some of these characters have sequels and some don't, I was surprised to see the likes of Spider-Man, the likes of Black Panther getting killed, you know, disintegrated. But then again, I say killed very lightly because, if I'm honest, if I'm perfectly honest, I'm convinced that there's going to be some sort of way to get them back. The only three that I'm convinced are staying dead, or at least two that are staying dead, because I'm hoping Gamora comes back somehow, even if she did get quite brutally killed. I'm hoping, you know, I'm fairly sure Loki's going to stay dead. I'm fairly sure the Gatekeeper's going to stay dead. Gamora could potentially have to stay dead. Who else? So, oh yeah, of course, the one that had the longest death throughout the entire film, Vision. I'm very sure he's going to stay there because he had the front lobe of his head torn out by Thanos. It's not like, you know, he just picked the gem out. No, he ripped it out. Yeah, I think those three are definitely the main ones that are staying dead for sure. Thanos, he did suffer a mortal blow, but he's still alive at the end. Of course, the likes of Spider-Man and Black Panther, I'm convinced they'll magically appear. So will the Guardians of the Galaxy, because believe it or not, every single Guardian from the Guardians of the Galaxy, except for Nebula and Rocket Raccoon, are disintegrated as well. That includes Groot. Everyone's favourite Groot is killed off. Although I find Drax funnier personally, but that's just me. So sorry, by the way, if you're wondering why there's this sudden cut midway through dialogue. The phone went off. And I don't really want the phone to interrupt. Like, I know this is amateurish. I know for sure that this is just like, it's not really midnight screening. That's Brad Jones' stuff. This is just a review of a movie that I recently saw. You know, a very quick overview or thoughts on. And the phone went off. And I don't really want to keep that in whatsoever. Where was I? Oh yeah, the Guardians get killed off, which is pretty fucked up. That includes, you know, Star-Lord, Groot, and Drax, and Mantis. Rocket Raccoon are pretty much the only one left alive at the end of it. But yeah, I was surprised that Spider-Man also got disintegrated, because he's got a sequel. In fact, I've noticed that all the ones that got disintegrated are going to have sequels. You know, Black Panther, Spider-Man, the Guardians. I wonder if they did that on purpose. To like throw us off and think, oh no. Although I'm not surprised, that some others got disintegrated, like Bucky. I'm not surprised he got disintegrated. I'm not surprised Scarlet Witch also got disintegrated because they were pretty useless. I will say this though, it's something that I completely forgot to mention. I'm surprised that Hawkeye and Ant-Man didn't appear. Ant-Man, I know, is going to have a film later on this year, which I don't know whether it's based after this or before it. We'll find out if people have been disintegrated. But yeah, that was interesting, to say the very least. The fact that all these heroes are just dead. Thanos slaughtered all of them just like that. Which, me clicking my fingers, is technically a spoiler. Actually, no, it should be this hand. But, of course, a lot of them do survive, i.e. Thor, Captain America, which surprised me, Iron Man, quite obviously, the big three, basically. The big three survive. But everyone else is just poof. Hulk, I say Hulk. Bruce Banner also survives, I should mention. There's quite a few that do survive. I don't want to name all of them. But, and even then, like I said, I'm not hugely convinced that they're going to stay dead, obviously. I shouldn't kick that. Really shouldn't kick that. Because the reason being is because, as I mentioned earlier, there's the time stone, which can reverse things. Because, believe it or not, Vision's Infinity Stone is destroyed. And of course Thanos walks over towards Vision, he comforts Scarlet Witch, and then he uses, the Time Stone to reverse time and grab it when it was still around. So, pretty much undoing what she did. So, yeah, you do have the Time Stone, which could reverse things. I'm convinced, personally. Because you can't leave, half the human race wiped out. That includes Nick Fury, by the way. Through this mass disintegration. You can't kill off huge amounts of characters, many of which are having sequels, so it's obviously something that's going to bring them back. But I will say this, it does lead you interested for the next Avengers film. Because, I probably should have mentioned this, that sounded like a bird smacking into the window. We've already had a bird smack into the window the other day, it broke its neck. It died. But something that does interest me is how the sequel's going to play out, because at this moment in time there's only a few heroes left. Many of them aren't really capable of taking on Thanos, and because Thanos was able just to whack them like that. Most Thanos got in the entire film was a scratch, and that was from Iron Man. And of course that is not including the stuff that Thor does to Thanos, which is pretty devastating. But yeah, it does leave you interested in what the hell's going to happen next. And Thanos is such an interesting character, because I wonder if he does see if he is wrong in any way. Because in his eyes, he wants to recreate beauty, he wants to create a perfect universe without any horror, any war, anything like that. But the only way to do that is to kill off half of it. Makes sense. So it does leave you interested, in my opinion. It really does. I should have mentioned about my previous thought on the other Avengers film right at the beginning. Probably should have said that. Basically, what I think of the Avengers so far is Avengers 1 was fantastic. Avengers 2 is one of the weakest Marvel MCUs out there, and this one is certainly on top. In fact, this is probably my favourite out of any of the Marvel MCU films. Not my favourite Marvel film of all time. Like I said earlier, Spider-Man 2 and Logan, which aren't connected to the universe, are certainly up top. Still brilliant films. But this is certainly up there at the top, because this is just amazing. And I'm sure you'll enjoy it, if you like these films, obviously. It's certainly one of the more darker films. Of course, it still has the humour, the Marvel humour. Some of which is worse than others. I really fucking hate the pop culture references in the film. particularly from Spider-Man, who spouts out probably 90% of them, and then the other characters fill in the rest. But yeah, I just love this film. It's a great film, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it if you're going to it. It's already breaking world records, or world box office records. That's great. I don't know what else to say. It's certainly a 9 out of 10 film in my opinion. Like I said, there's a few flaws here and there, but that's nitpicky. Yeah. Hopefully the next film will be Solo, which looks fucking amazing. I love the look of Solo so far. It's certainly captured my attention. Of course, Star Wars fans, actually no, I should say Star Wars fans, you know, the ones that live in 1977 don't like any Star Wars film except for A New Hope. They're not looking forward to that film. They're already putting it down because, oh my god, it's not played by Harrison Ford. I'm not even kidding, there's a video out there by some jackass who thinks that the film should be played by Harrison Ford. You know, not even giving the guy a chance. Which, by the way, in the trailers he looks great. This I don't even know his name, but the guy that playing Han Solo looks great. Surprisingly, he actually got a trailer for Deadpool as well. Deadpool 2. Mind you, the trailer was like 5 seconds long because they cut out most of it. And I mean, like 5 seconds long. It was like 1 or 2 clips, 1 line of dialogue, and that was it. Jurassic World. I'm not particularly interested. The problem with the Jurassic Park 2s for me is they're sort of they're okay films. You know, I can see them once, I don't need to see them a billion times again. I don't need to see them again at all. You know, and that includes the first one. I just don't care about them that much. And then there was Oceans, what is it called now? Oceans 8, I think it is. One with the women robbing a fashion show. I still can't get over that. You know, it's funny how, you know, these companies want to be all diverse and all that, want to be all equal, and their idea of making this woman-only film, so far, most of the attempts have all failed. I mean, look at Ghostbusters 2016, that was a piece of shit. But now they want to do Ocean's 11, or an all-female version of that, and they're robbing a fashion show. Well, okay, they're robbing the jewels from the fashion show, but still. That doesn't interest me, by the way. Like I said, the only one that really interests me is, of course, Solo, which looks fucking amazing. I love the Star Wars films. I'm hopeful that it's going to be great. I mean, it's going to be a success nonetheless, you know. Anyone who dares say, you know, it's going to fail, going to flop, I'm going to warn you right now, a Star Wars film is almost impossible to flop. Because no matter what, a Star Wars film will always get its money back, it will always gain a large audience. And at the end of the day, these Star Wars fans are pretty much the minority, the vocal minority I should say, while the silent majority pretty much enjoy the film. But now I'm talking about something that isn't Avengers, and I'm looking forward to Avengers Part 2, Infinity War Part 2, because by God, that is one big cliffhanger to leave on. Especially the end credit scene, which I caught on was Captain Marvel, which looks... I've heard nothing about Captain Marvel. Like, I know that they've got an actress, they have like on-set photos of her, but literally there's nothing else about her. But yeah, I'm just delaying the end of this video, aren't I? I'm sure you will enjoy it. I fucking loved it. You will probably love it. And I'll see you again some other time, perhaps. I don't know when. Some other time.